Hello, this is Yaakov Kronenberg from Jerusalem, and tonight I'm going to be doing my third class on Aries ascendant with Mars, the ruling planet. Tonight we'll be talking about Mars and Gemini in the third house, right? Again, so all these people are going to be Aries risings. Tonight, again, it's going to be a woman. I'm going to do again, give you an example from a woman's chart, Barbara Streisand, very, very famous singer in America. But before we come to her chart, let's look a little bit at Aries with Mars and Gemini. Right, so again, the basic nature of Aries is a fighter, a person who wants to get ahead in the world, can't take no for an answer, fights for everything. When Mars is in the third house, so it's not particularly one way or another. Mars is peregrine in Gemini, meaning it's not really good and it's not really bad. It's somewhere its effects are intermediary. But when you have Mars in the third house, the first thing you have to know is Mars is not very strong in the third house. Remember our classes on the planets in the houses, that the third house is basically the weakest house in the horoscope, because it's a cadent house, and it's on the bottom of the chart, and it's heading to the very bottom of the chart, the fourth house. So a planet in the third house only really works 25%. It has a hard time expressing itself, and so it's in her third house. It's in a person's third house. So it'll be sort of weak. But with Mars and Gemini, again, person has energy is used in communication, right? Gemini is the communicative sign. It's an air sign, so there's going to be a lot of, and the third house is the house of communication. Right? Gemini rules the third house. The natural ruler of the third house is Gemini, so when Mars is there, that's in other words, there's going to be a strong interest in communication. You'll see that from the chart. You'll see that, from people who have Mars in the third house. In Gemini, communication is going to be a major theme in their life, because it's Gemini on one hand, which is mercurial, and the third house is a mercurial house. So there's going to be a lot of communicating. And there'll be a fair amount of travel, right? When you have the ruling planet in the third house, is one of the houses of travel. So there's going to be a fair amount of travel in this lifetime for a person who has that position. And they want to express themselves. They want to bring forth their Aries nature through the third house, right? The third house is also brothers and sisters, siblings, right? The neighbors. Traveling, it's also, but the ego is mainly communication. It's the house that wants to be a communicator. Now let's go into the chart of Barbara Streisand and give her as an example of somebody who has this. See, her chart is very, very interesting. Again, it's not our purpose here tonight to go through her chart. We just want to talk about having the Aries. Remember, I always said that the woman who has an Aries ascendant, they feel sort of uncomfortable in a feminine role, because because Aries is a very, very masculine type of sign. I think in one of her movies she played a boy, actually, right? You see, there's always a tendency to this masculine side to the Aries woman. But in her chart there's also this four planet. She has it's interesting, her ruling planet is not very strong, right? You look at the chart, that you got that Mars low down in the chart, and really no planets aspect her, almost nothing aspects her Mars. Only one planet aspects her Mars, which is Pluto, which is square to it. Pluto is a modern planet. Not Pluto, Neptune. Neptune is squaring her Mars, and Neptune never strengthens anything. Neptune, if anything, takes away from the strength, right? So she's gonna. It's not a very strong chart. It's an interesting chart that how she became so wealthy and so famous. And on the one hand, it's not really a strong chart. I think she's known for having a lot of stage fright and being shy and things like that. And you see that her chart, really, the ruling planet is weak. There's nothing that aspects the ruling planet except for that Neptune, which, if anything, takes away from the strength. But it gives an interest in film. When the ruling planet is connected to Neptune, so it's going to give an interest in film, in photography, in art, things like that. And so you see that in her chart, and it's going to add sensitivity and maybe a little bit of a mystical type of approach. And also her ascendant too. There's no planets aspecting her ascendant. Well, she's got the moon. Does have the moon trine to the ascendant, so that gives her again. So you have the female moon, which helps her a little, even though it's also in a male sign. But I would say it's not a particularly strong chart at all, right? Because the moon is working fits in the 5th house, very close to the 6th house. So on one hand, you don't see it strong, but what you do see strong in her chart is that she has a stellium in Taurus, which competes with the ascendant, and she has 4 planets there in the 2nd house, including the ruler of the 10th. The ruler of 10th is exactly conjoined to Uranus, and she's also got what else has she got there? And she's also got Mercury there. She's got Mercury in Taurus, which is good for singing, right? She's got Mercury in Taurus in the house of money. And for Taurus rules the throat. So really what's exceptional about her chart is she's just born with talent. She was a very talented girl. And you see, she's a chart of someone who really personality-wise is not very much, but she has... her ascendant is very weak, but she made it because of her talent. You see, her 10th house, the house of career, is unusually powerful. It falls in the house of the voice, right? The 2nd house is the voice, and Taurus is also the voice, and she's got Mercury there, which is also connected with the voice. So she has this unusual talent that made her what she is, right? And the Mercury is connected with, is disposited by the Venus, which is exalted, so she's going to be very wealthy, right? Venus rules the house of money. But it's not our thing to do her chart tonight, but we just want to talk about the ruling planet in the 3rd house. And so we see her Mars there is going to be connected with communication, and really you see in her chart she made it because of those 4 planets there in Taurus. Other than that, right, just one other thing, if going back to the Mars again, so you see the only aspect that the Mars really makes is that tight square to Neptune in the 7th, which indicates very, very difficult lifetime connected to relationships. There's going to be a lot of disappointments in relationships, a lot of deceivement in relationships, right, with Neptune in the 7th exactly squared, almost exactly square that Mars. And I was looking at her, history, but basically she was married for about 7 years when she was in her 20s, and then other than that, she got married a 2nd time in her late 50s. So most of her life she was, I don't know, either she didn't have any marriage in any case until she was 58. She only had 7 years of marriage, and so it looks like she had a pretty unsuccessful marriage type of chart. And and also in children. She only has one child who I don't really know much about him. I think he became an actor. But right, and so she only managed to have one child, and so it's so it wasn't an easy chart, at least in the feminine aspects of life, in marriage and motherhood. You don't really see much there in the chart, and you see that from that Mars being the ruling planet, such a tight square to Neptune. And I thank everybody for listening tonight, and I hope they enjoyed the class.